for Major League Baseball. We're going to get into it all on this episode and more. This is Box Scores and Bourbon. All right, bud. We got a
Cheers,
lot to
JB.
talk about. We got a lot
Jump
to
right
get
in.
to. Cheers. Clink, clink. As those of you who know, those in the know, who I like to call the real Americans, today is opening day for Major League Baseball. The real opening day, not the one in Japan where the Cubs broke my heart. Those two losses, they don't count. They don't count. So let's not worry about it.
The record says otherwise.
Neither does my Cub Little League team, who lost the scrimmage on Monday. None of that counts. Okay? What counts is today. All right? And as of right now, we are shooting this and recording this before the Cubs, 18 minutes before the Cubs kick off the domestic opener out in Phoenix. So,
how dare you call it kickoff when we're talking baseball?
First pitch.
JB, first pitch. You know what? As we jump in, let me get something off my chest real quick. You know what grinds my gears? Let me tell you what grinds my gears as we jump into opening day. How dare you, MLB, come out and tweet or Xify, whatever you call it now, for putting something on X, happy opening day, when you are the ones that are claiming that Japan is the opening day. Pick one or the other. Pick one, stick with it, reopening, whatever you want to do. Don't give me both. Don't give me opening day and then say happy opening day 2 weeks ago. Don't give me that. That is my gripe.
In the words of Andy Bernard, oh, would you like to come down here or is your wife sick? Which one is it? So,
anyways, so we're going to talk predictions, JB.
Yes,
per our usual second annual opening day episode, we are talking predictions.
Yep.
We're going to talk division, World Series, playoffs, coaches, players, all of it.
For those who have not been a part of this before, that's what it is. Division by division. Maybe we'll throw out some records. We'll do playoff teams. We'll do World Series matchups. And then everything else that follows. And a little bit of Lanyap at the end. But we'll get there. So, Manny, in honor of that great Yankee victory today, which tells me they're on pace to be 162-0.
Undefeated, baby.
In honor of their victory, we will start with the AL East. I want you to give me your predictions. Let's do this. Let's each start at 5 and then go up. So we'll each start our 5 and then our 4 and our 3, our 2, and our 1.
All at once? You want me to give all my, or are we gonna go one by one?
No. We're gonna go 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1,
Got it.
1. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Go ahead.
On your marks, get set, go. On my AL East 5th place, I'm gonna put the Rays. Easy, too easy. Rays.
Yeah, I have the Rays. Nothing against what they've been doing down there in Tampa, but one, they're displaced. I don't know what the hype machine is down at George Steinbrenner Spring Training Complex, but this is a team where their opening day starter is Zach Eflin. Nothing against Zach Eflin. He's a decent pitcher with the Phillies. Finds himself, after being in Baltimore, finds himself being the starter here in Tampa. So, but this is a stacked division this season, and so just by just by measuring against the other 4 teams, I'm gonna go with Tampa. So Tampa's my number 5.
No disrespect to the Blue Jays. I know they're trying to suck just as much, but we'll give the Rays the 5th place. That being said, my 4th is going to be the Blue Jays.
Yeah, my 4th is also Toronto. There is way too much going on there, especially with the Vlad thing. I know they signed Scherzer. They still have Berrios.
Let me tell you something about the Scherzer signing. Doesn't do anything for me with them.
I know, but it's just I think with Toronto has failed to find an identity of who they are. They went and they got Adrias Jimenez to play second base, which is really a void for them over the last 2 years. I know David Schneider gave it the old college try. He's obviously not the answer there. But Jimenez at second actually provides some sneaky left-handed power to that lineup. They're very right-handed heavy, so having that left-handed hitter there. You got Bo Bichette. Is he going to bounce back? I don't know. Vlad Jr. is going to do Vladito things. George Springer, he's in his mid-30s. He's up there. What's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen there? They just extended Alejandro Kirk, which is a great move. Kirk is one of the top catchers in MLB in the last three seasons. So, but I don't think it's enough when you come against what Baltimore's got cooking, what Boston did this offseason, and then the Yankees obviously going to be 162-0. I don't know how you beat that.
I don't think
But
you can.
I also have Toronto at number 4.
Yeah. On number 3, maybe this is where we start deviating a little bit. I'm going to put the Orioles in third place in their division. I know not too long ago we were talking about how they were building a nice young team, but just looking at their pitching, it doesn't look solid enough, especially when you're looking at the other two teams that are competing for the division in the Red Sox and the Yankees. I don't think they match up well as far as keeping up with the pitching. I think that's going to be the struggle for them. I think they're going to have explosive offense, which is very likely considering the young players that they have, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So I'm going to put them at 3.
Yeah, I was toying between two teams, between Baltimore and another team for this number 3 spot. I'm also going to go Baltimore. I know that they are. I know Mike Elias has and his team have done some great things drafting these guys, developing them, bringing up Adley, bringing up Jackson, bringing up Gunner. These are great ball players. They've been able to trade from their wealth of offensive prospects to bring in some pitching. But the pitching is just not enough for me. Not that the potential doesn't exist. It hasn't all come together yet, and
Right.
and so I would like to see it come together. Hopefully, mid-season, Michael Elias said, "Okay, you know what? Now we're gonna go big, or we're gonna go home. We're gonna go bring in
Hmm.
that rental guy. We're gonna go bring him in here." So until that happens, until I see that there's a willingness to do that. I know they went and got Corbin Burns last off season. They traded a couple of guys who are now kind of starting for Milwaukee now, but I believe Joey Ortiz was one of those. But just being able to um, kind of really until they tell me until they sound like Luke from Gilmore Girls and they say I'm all in. Until I get that Luke meme from the Orioles, I'm really just not buying into all of it. I like what they got going. I like the young pieces, but we need to really build around that.
You know what my thing is with the Orioles? I love that they're building a team by drafting well and kind of having their farm system grow within. But at the same time, I feel like they're relying too much on that. I still think you need to be aggressive when it comes to free agents and bring in like somebody that's well established in the league, and that's where I'm having a problem with the Orioles as a whole. I think they're just stuck too much on the farm system, and they're just not bringing in all-star players. They're just maybe in 5 years this will all pay off, but as of right now, they're not going to be able to compete with the teams that are spending money and bringing established players that can actually compete at that level this year.
Yeah.
Now, 2 and 1, I feel like should come. We should just. I'll give my 2 and my 1 explanations right off the top.
Go. Do it.
I'm going to. I'm going to put the Yankees at 2 and the Red Sox at 1. As much as that means that the Red Sox are going to have to win 163 games to beat the undefeated 162 game
There's
Yankees.
tiebreakers. Okay, there's tiebreakers.
somehow,
Yeah.
somehow they're going to have to pull that off. But here's my thing on why I'm leaning more towards the Red Sox. And maybe I'm doing it by de facto because of what the Yankees have done. Because the Yankees brought in Max Fried or Fried, whatever, however you pronounce his last name. That was supposed to be like the solidifying of their pitching rotation, and by only having Max Fried right now, and why is his name skipping on me? By losing
Luis Heel.
no Cole. Garrett Cole, by losing Garrett Cole and only having Max Fried as the all-star pitching,
Oh,
I think that's It's like it's a wash from what you had last year. And considering what the Red Sox did to bring in pieces and kind of develop their players, if you're gonna pretty much be at a wash level with the Yankees for losing one pitcher, bringing in another one, I just feel like it's gonna be a close division race. But I feel like just that alone is gonna create them to kind of be stuck in the same position as they were last year. So, like I said, by de facto, I'm gonna put the Red Sox above the Yankees, which hurts me. I know, and I hate to do it, but sometimes I have to speak with my head and not with my heart. So there's my 2-1. Yankees and Red Sox to win the division.
Um, I'm right there with you. I
What?
have Yankees 2. I have Red Sox 1. That's why I set it up 162-0 for the Yankees because I don't see them winning this division, and especially after Garrett Cole's out for the whole season,
Yeah.
and he waited to the last minute to get Tommy John surgery. Why didn't the doofus just get it in October? He could have came back, I don't know, in October, hopefully. I don't know. But he's out until next spring training.
Yeah.
And then Luis Gil, his injury issues. So, and look, Rodon pitched masterfully today. He pitched a really great game. I mean, he was really hitting his spots, and that's really what you're looking for with Carlos Rodon. He, coming out of the NC State, it was this dude's he's got the control, he's got the velocity. He just could not stay healthy, and when he was healthy, he had a hard time staying consistent. Hopefully, and this is what the Yankees are going to need from Rodon and Fried throughout the course of this entire season, because now even Clark Schmidt is hurt now too. So you got three of your that's 60% of your opening day rotation. That's out. That's out. So 20% that's out for the entire season. So, and look, I like the Goldschmidt move. I like bringing him in the first base. Belly, of course, is going to hit belly bombs on that short left field porch all season long. So, and then Luke Weaver looked great today in the late innings, and now he doesn't have to be the closer. So, because you got beardless Devin Williams as the closer now. So, no, but as much as the Yankees did with this team, what Brian Cashman did, it was good what he did. He brought in some really good pieces. I think what's really going to help this team and what's going to be an X factor is Jazz Chisholm being shipped to second base. Now, I had nothing against Jazz playing third base last season. This dude was drafted as a shortstop, got brought up as a second baseman, played center field for the Marlins, got traded to the Yankees, and he said, "Sure, I'll play third base." We all saw the fifth inning. Not
his best
the Yankees big, in the highest hour, but having Chaz at second base in the middle of that infield, I think it's going to be right where he belongs. Him and Volpe are going to be a great double play duo. They're going to do great things on the offensive side. But the Red Sox went and got Garrett Crochet. They still have Tanner Houck. They have Walker Buehler, that was the one gamble I wanted the Cubs to make this offseason, was to go get Walker Buehler. I can't wait to see what he does a full season. And then, but you also have Brian Bayo, who's hurt. You have Giolito, who's hurt. Cutter Crawford is out. So this is the opposite of the rotation that the Yankees have. The issue that the Yankees rotation has is that this is already still pretty strong, even without, because these are young guys that were set back, and one gamble in Giolito. The biggest thing that I'd like to mention about Boston, why they're number one to me, is that they have Christian Campbell, their rookie, playing second base. This is a kid that Alex Cora just absolutely loves. He is going to start second base. He made the opening day roster, but you also have Marcelo Meyer coming up too at some point this offseason. And there may not be any reason to rush it because you have Bregman at third. They signed Alex Bregman to play third base so they can conserve Rafael Devers' body. He can play DH, which is great. Trevor Story is finally healthy. He looks healthy. He looks ready to go. He looks like the guy that the Red Sox went out and got a few off seasons ago, which is great. And then the outfield with Jarren Duran and Rafaela. This is a loaded team. And then you got Wilyer Abreu out there too. And so this is it's a loaded team. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Boston in the AL East.
No, it'll be close.
But if Boston does, if the players perform, the way that we expect them to perform, and even with the potential, um, there should be no reason they don't at least win this division by 5 games.
So, question for you, JB. Talk me off. Maybe talk some reason into me, or just solidify my reasoning. Am I wrong in thinking that the loss of Garrett Cole and kind of the bringing in of Max Fried kind of does a 1-for-1 trade considering the situation? Like, am I thinking, am I undermining the moves that the Yankees did? I feel like it's a 1-for-1 as far as pitching rotation, especially with the pieces they got rid of. Tell me that. I need you to tell me I'm right, JB.
Um, it's not an under move because you brought in Max Fried so you could have 3 solid guys to pair
Right.
along with Heel and Schmidt. Now trading Nasty Nestor, you're able to get
Yep.
Devin Williams back. That's not nothing because, like I said, Luke Weaver was great as your closer. I think the Yankees are set up so well at the back end of their rotation. Now they are set up like the Royals were in 14 and 15 when they won in 15 and barely won in 14 when they had their three, and I cannot replace their names who they were, but they have but the Yankees have now it's killing me who it was at the back end of that bullpen. I know Greg Holland was the closer.
Was it
Anyway, so
Dominguez?
no, it wasn't.
No.
So, but the Yankees have Tim Hill. They can bring in the 7th inning. They have Luke Weaver, who was shut down last year. They can bring
Hmm.
him in the 8th, and then Devin Williams can come in the 9th inning. I mean, the great thing about the Yankees' uh, back end of their bullpen is that now they can go ahead and try to conserve and preserve some of their starters' arms going forward throughout the season. Maybe take a Dave Roberts approach where he's trying to keep their starters fresh, so he just reuses the
Hmm.
relievers. We'll see how that works. I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know how you know prudent that actually is. But today, Rodon went 7 innings, and so you just had to bring Weaver in at the end there. So it was fine. It worked. But it's not all bad in your eyes if you're a Yankee fan. But it's not
No.
ideal because you didn't bring Max Fried in after you lost Garrett Cole. You brought Max Fried in thinking, oh, him and Cole together. Wow,
Right. That's
that's
my thing. That's my thing. Having them two as like the star starters would have been solid. But because you lost Garrett Cole, and at least you have Max Fried to kind of take that the the solid number one starting pitching spot, it's
mhm.
not a bad position to be in. And if you're a Yankees fan, like this year might not be completely what the potential of the Yankees won't necessarily show this year, but long term, if there's any Yankees fans that are like, "Damn it, we're just in the same place." Long term, the Yankees will be fine. I'm just saying, as far as this year, it's to me, it's almost like you
Mhm.
got lucky with the injury, and then having to bring in Max Fried to where you were able to plug that hole. That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying it's like a 1-for-1 swap. So
Yeah.
I know the Yankees will be fine. I'm just saying for
Yeah.
this year, like the 1-for-1 trade off and kind of works out, but it's as like I keep saying, it's a 1-for-1 switch off, so it'll be kind of the same in the same way like a pitching
Yeah.
rotation that was similar to last year. But
That's what it
that's
is. Herrera to Davis to Holland. That's who it was for Kansas City. Calvin Herrera, Wade Davis, and then Greg Holland. I was 7, 8, and 9 during those two magical seasons, Kansas City. Okay,
okay.
now let's get to the AL Central. Let's
Hmm.
work our way across the country and then back. So this is all the AL and NL Central is always like, why are we here?
Who wants it?
Who
Here you
actually
come, grab
wants
it,
the
take it.
division? Who's trying? This is the one division where if the Orioles were in it, no problem. Orioles win it every
Yeah.
season. They win it
Any
every.
AL East team
Yeah,
that was in the Central would run away with that division, or really any team anywhere
yeah.
else would run away with that division.
All right, so I will go ahead and start.
Sure.
Number 5 was really hard for me, but
We have to do it.
It
Somebody
was
has to
it was
lose,
it was a toss
unfortunately.
up between you know the White Sox and their Double A team. It was a toss. So I'm gonna, of course, we're gonna start with the Pale Hose. This is a team that they did projections in the offseason. This is all I'm gonna say about it. We don't even discuss your number five. We already know what it is. I'll say what I say, and then we'll just go to four.
Yep.
The They said the projections were even if they had signed all of Juan Soto, Roki Sasaki, and who was there was another player. Um, uh, but they said even if they had signed those two guys, those two guys, it would have been Max Fried, I think it was. Even if they signed all three of those, they maybe would have won 72 games. Maybe would have won. So it's bad down there. Um, it's I I'm gonna give it till the deadline to see what's actually the game plan over here because uh, I just I honestly don't know what's gonna happen with the Pale Hose. I don't know what direction they should only be going up, but I don't. It's been so long since they've seen that direction. I don't know if they even know how to get there anymore. So let's get to number four. We're
Yeah.
done.
White Sox unanimous. Move on.
Let's get to number four. Number four for JB in the AL Central. And I hate to say it because I had really high hopes for them last year. Uh, I'm going to say, I don't want to say it.
Well, we're here. We're live, JB.
I don't
Spit
want
it
to say
out.
it. Huh. Out of Minnesota, out of Detroit, out of Kansas City, and out of Cleveland, I'm going to settle on Kansas City. I think Kansas City.
What?
I'm, and it does not make me happy to say this out loud. Um,
Oh God. Okay.
I don't understand what this offseason was. I don't understand what it was for Kansas City. I don't. Again, because quite honestly, Detroit looks like they are more capable of being able to take that next step. And we all saw it last season too when they made that miraculous run. I don't think that was a mirage. I think that was something AJ Hinch is building. And people forget AJ Hinch is the one who was at the helm when the Astros were still relevant in the beginning times. And Cleveland's always going to figure it out. Minnesota is always there. Minnesota's always there. They're always there somehow. But it came down between Minnesota and Kansas City. And
That's crazy.
I have a sneaky suspicion. I have a sneaky suspicion Kansas City's finishing fourth in this division. I may eat my words. I'm probably
I
going to eat my words.
Yes, I think you are. I do think you are. Considering the projections that we have for the player awards and stuff like that. Am I crazy that last year you were sitting here saying that Bobby Witt Jr. was gonna win MVP last year? Am I not? Last time I checked, they still have him on their roster. You chose them last year you chose him to be the MVP. Am I remembering last year wrong, JB? Come
No,
on
I'm
now.
not. I'm not saying anything about Bobby Wood. This has nothing to do with Bobby Wood Jr.
Well, I know it
Nothing to
doesn't,
do with
but
Bobby
at the
Wood.
same time they come hand in hand. You really, I don't know. I'll tell you that my number four was not that hard. I'm gonna put the Twins there. You say the Twins are always in the mix. Sure, they're always in the mix, but at the end of the day, the AL Central, every team is always in the mix until the second week of September. Let's be honest about that. The Twins didn't do enough. They didn't make any major moves. They don't really have any splashy players or any splashy any really. If I had to say it, they don't really have it. They don't move the needle in any way for me. And this offseason has done nothing to move the needle anyway in the positive direction. So I'm just gonna put the Twins at number four. I'm not gonna overthink it. What Am I gonna put them at number 4, saying that they're gonna be like 5, 6 games out of second or first place? Probably, but at the end of the day, fourth is fourth.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I could be wrong. And look, I welcome anyone to try to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Kansas City, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong
That's
that you won't finish fourth. But there was, and maybe it's because I built them up too much last offseason.
you did.
But I didn't see anything happening this offseason. They traded away Brady Singer for Jonathan India. Why? Why? I get you're looking for a second baseman, but you have to trade Brady Singer for that. You didn't have to do that. Doesn't make any sense to me. Makes
Yeah, I don't
zero
know.
sense to me.
Take what you just said about the Royals and how they didn't do enough in the offseason and plug that into why I think the Twins will finish fourth. And then we'll move on to number 3. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is my number 3 is going to be Minnesota.
Okay.
And it's Minnesota because I like the projections coming out of Minnesota more than I like them coming out of Kansas City. There seems to be more of how can I put this? There's like uh, for some reason Minnesota is to me is going to be able to. I think offensively they are set up to be able to surprise a lot of people this season, and
Including me.
a lot of it's going to come to a lot of it's going to come to health. It's not going to be easy for them to do that, but it's I just I like their honestly I like their rotation more. Their rotation honestly looks better to me than Kansas City's does. You have Pablo Lopez, you got Joe Ryan, you got Bailey Ober, Chris Paddock, and then I know they got Simeon Woods Richardson's he's gonna hold up the back end of that rotation. That rotation looks better to me than Kansas City's does. Kansas City subtracted from a place they had no business subtracting from. They had no strength there, and they subtracted from it to go get a guy who has underperformed in the last 3 seasons. So I just that move doesn't make any sense to me, and I feel it makes me feel it's indicative of kind of how of what they're trying to figure out in Kansas City. At least Minnesota here is, and look, Minnesota might go down a tank, but guess what? They have the opportunity to flip Carlos Correa at the deadline to go get some more pieces. So I like Minnesota's offense. I feel like it's set up to be a little bit deeper, and then I also like I definitely like their rotation better than I like Kansas City's.
Okay. I am going to put. Oh, see, this is what I hate about what I'm going to say it bluntly.
Mm-hmm.
The Central Division, especially the American League Central Division, is what I consider a mediocre division. And what I hate about mediocre divisions is that you could be wrong with your predictions because everybody's so close to this level of mediocrity. That being said, I'm going to put the Tigers as my number 3. You said that you think that what the run that they did last year wasn't an anomaly. I think it was. I think it was kind of lightning in a bottle. I don't think they're. I know they brought in some players. I even think they signed one of the. Who did they sign? They signed one of the players from the Yankees or traded for one of the players from the Yankees. I know they made moves this offseason to kind of build upon what they had last year, but I'm not sold completely on what the Tigers look like. So I'm going to put them at 3 just because it doesn't, like most people that kind of think they know something about sports, and I know very little about sports in a way. It doesn't pass the sniff test for me, and I'm just going to say that the Detroit Tigers are going to sit at third, comfortably at third. 3 games out from the division.
Okay.
So give me your 2 and your 1.
My number 2 is going to be Uh, Cleveland.
Okay.
I think Cleveland finishes at number two. Um, and it's like it's.
So you have the Tigers winning the
I have the
division.
Tigers winning the division. I absolutely do.
Okay.
The Tigers winning this division.
Okay.
And I think people are um, they are absolutely overlooking um, how good Tariq Skubal is, and then what he can do for the rest of that rotation. And then I'm a big believer in AJ Hinch. I looked at what happened at the end of last season, and look, I'm not saying that they did much. They brought in Gleyber Torres on a 1 year deal to play second base,
That's who it was.
which I mean honestly is not a bad value at all. And I think putting Glaber in an environment that doesn't include Aaron Boone, really just any manager who can effectively manage talent, which that is AJ Hinch to a T. It is it is. I mean, you have Kerry Carpenter, you have uh, Riley Green. I mean, Matt Vierling was severely underrated at the end of the last season. Just the positional, uh, uh, variety that he brings. I already brought up Tariq Skubal. It's not, and then Javi Baez is already being moved around all over the infield to be able to give more to what he's able to offer. So and then the Indians they didn't do much. They like they traded their starting second baseman for pitching depth. Like that was Andreas Jimenez, and like
Hmm.
Jimenez is nothing to sneeze at. So they traded away their second baseman. They reacquired Nolan Jones, which is not bad, but it's like okay, Nolan Jones just showed promise, but you haven't really shown me anything yet. And so um, there's only so many times you can bring back Carlos Santana and say, "Hey, the Indians are back." So but it's to your point. Is this division is so much like what you said. It is hard to predict a division where it seems like no one is trying,
Yeah.
and like they feel like they can do the opposite of a move because they feel like they can still win the division, and they're just
Which is fair. If
which
you're playing to your competition, if you're saving money and you're trying to be competitive, and all you have to do is win your division, and you're in the AL Central, it's fair to be not as aggressive because you know that you don't have to try as hard to win it.
I don't know. I
That
don't
being
know.
said, I'm gonna put the Guardians at two. They the playoff run last year, even though they were pushing the Yankees and kind of they were competitive when they were going up against the Yankees last year. I'm gonna put the Guardians at two, and that means that I'm gonna put the Royals at one because you sold me on the Royals last year,
I
and
did.
you sold me on Bobby Witt Jr. and I
I
kept
did.
tabs on him all year, and he was very close to being the AL MVP. And I think this year is a year that maybe as a offense or a defense as a whole, they're not going to necessarily be as explosive, but I do think Bobby Witt Jr. has enough to carry that team in a way. I know it's hard to carry a team in baseball, but I think he will he will be a significant enough factor to where he lifts the Royals to number one. So you have the Royals at four, and I have the Royals at one. So
Yes,
that's
you
a
do.
major discrepancies. And but as you said, you hope that you're wrong, and I hope that you're wrong too. That'll make
Yeah.
me more likely to be right.
Yeah. Look, look, like I said, like it's just, and it comes down to rotation again. You got Tariq Skubal, you got Jack Flaherty, Jackson Job's getting a whole season in this rotation. Um, and you have Reese Olson, who, I mean, he did decent last. And then when you have a rotation in Casey Mize, your your former top prospect is holding up the back end of a rotation, that's not a bad place to be. So, and it's, I just, yeah, there are a lot of questions with Detroit. There are a lot of questions, but they have options. And with Cleveland, I don't know that they didn't really do anything to get better, and they didn't really have anybody to hang their hat on and say, okay, we're going to get better We're going to get better this off season. I don't know what Emmanuel Clase is going to do. Is he going to be the guy that wasn't the regular season, or is he going to be the guy we saw in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Is he going to be that guy? I don't know. And then, like I said, Kansas City did nothing. They did nothing to like give me any sort of a sense of like, oh, hey, they're really trying here. They're really trying. No.
Like I said, in a division where you don't have to try, can you blame them for not trying? That's
I
what it
can
comes
blame
to.
everyone for not trying. You should try all the time.
True. You should. Unless you're in the AL Central where no team tries. So then if you have one key player like Bobby Witt, then you have a good chance. You have a good chance of winning that division.
All right, let's go.
Let's come. I feel like we spent way too much time on a division that we are not sold on at all. Moving on to the AL West. Give me your 5.
Okay. I'm just gonna do 5 through 1. You give me your 5 through 1. Okay.
Okay.
My 5 through 1. JB's number 5 in the AL West, the A's. Okay, say no more. Look, they did a great job of spending money this off season. They extended Brett Rooker. I believe they extended Lawrence Butler. They went out and they got Luis Severino. They spent money, but I have no idea what this team is going to produce. Especially they're playing at a minor league ballpark. I don't know how serious that this front office actually is at trying to make the team better. I can sense that they'll get to the midway point. They'll look competitive and they'll trade a bunch of pieces. That's really what it's going to be. JB's number 4 in the AL West. Hit me with the Angels. I know
Okay.
Perry Minasian did quite a bit to be able to bring in some pieces, but there was nothing that really kind of just like, whoa, they did what now? They're already bringing up, was it Ryan Jansen, their number 1 pick last season? Has pitched not even one minor league inning. He made the roster. Just like Logan O'Hawk played like a handful of games in the minors. Nolan Schnall played a handful of games in the minors. This is the 3rd year in a row where they're just bringing up guys. So, which is fine. Look, if it works for you, it works for you. That's great. But that's why your cupboard's always barren, because they're always up there floundering at the top. And then, but I think the silver lining for the Angels is moving Mike Trout to right field. Going to help, one, keep him healthy, and 2, keep them competitive. So hopefully that helps. I'm just, as a baseball guy, I'd like to see Mike Trout play 150 games. I'd like to see that happen. He's averaged 67 over the course of the last, 3 seasons, 4 seasons. So
Dang, I did not know that.
he's
I
been
thought he
hurt.
was stayed healthy besides last year. That's crazy.
And he's going to be 34 in August. So
Ugh.
this is like, as a baseball guy, I root for Mike Trout. JB's number 3 AL West team put me down for the Houston Astros.
What in the world is going on with you? Okay, go on.
Okay, hear me out. All right. So Houston lost Bregman. They were able to bring in Christian Walker. They went out and they got Isaac Paredes to replace Bregman at 3rd. Cam Smith made the roster. He was the top prospect that they acquired from the Cubs in the Kyle Tucker trade to play right field. They still have Yordan Alvarez. Altuve is now a full-time outfielder now. You got Mauricio Dubon at second base. Okay. I don't know exactly. Like, I have a feeling that the Houston Astros offense is, they're still going to figure it out. They started, 9-17 last season. You know, winning the division still because the Mariners just faltered. Damn Seattle Mariners. So I'm not sold on the pitching, on the starting pitching. I'm not sure what you have there. I know they're looking at Hunter Brown to be the future ace of that rotation, but it's not even. I'm not even picking Houston to be 3rd because I think they're going to be bad. I think they're going to be like an 85, 86 win team. But I'm picking them because I think my number 2 team, Texas, is going to actually bring the noise. You have Evan Carter, you have Wyatt Langford, um, you have Josh Young. Um, they have the 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 pieces in place to really provide some pop on that offensive
Mhm.
side of the ball. And I believe that them getting older, well, more mature, what they've showed last offseason is only going to be is going to prove any so much. It's going to prove much more beneficial, especially when you have Marcus Simeon and Corey Seager as your double play duo up the middle of that infield. It does not hurt you at all. But what I think is going to be the X factor with them is Jacob DeGrom is going to come back stronger and healthy. I think DeGrom is he's going to produce a healthy season. And if DeGrom can produce a healthy season, watch out. Watch out for the Texas Rangers in the rest of that rotation. Um, the only thing that kind of gives me pause is the back end of that bullpen. Not exactly sure what we're going to get there. Um, uh, there was some promise last offseason. I cannot. What was his name? I can't place his name. But what I will say is I have them finishing second, and of course I have Seattle finishing first. I think this is the year that it actually happens for Seattle. When you have a starting rotation as deep and as talented and as powerful as Seattle's, there's no reason why you should not run the gamut. Now I know Seattle has had issues with the offense. I know they've had issues with producing runs when it mattered. Jerry Dipoto made some moves. He cut some guys. He brought some guys in to try to mix it up a little bit. Uh, but I think that Seattle's rotation is what's going to carry them through this season. Manny, what's your 5 through 1?
So I'm actually quite intrigued to see what the AL West is going to look like at the bottom, and I'm honestly torn as far as the 5-4 positions for this division. For the sake of argument, and for the sake of just bad luck breaking in the bad luck direction, I'm going to put the Angels 5. I've not once in well, I don't even know how long it's been since the Angels gave me a vote of confidence that they were doing something right. Have they convinced me that they're going to be competitive in the division or really in the conference? I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
put the Angels 5, and then somehow the Athletics are going to finish 4. I know it's not like major news, but hey, if you're not finishing last in your division, you're doing something. Somehow they're going to end up finishing fourth. It doesn't make me feel good to give the Athletics that more credit than the Angels. I don't know. Something has to give. There has to be some lucky breaks, and the bottom of this division feels a whole lot like the AL Central, where they're going to be fighting to see who's the worst of the teams. But I mean, if it was Athletics and Angels 5-4, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to go with Angels 5, Athletics 4. Number 3, I'm going to put the Astros.
Oh, you
I
just gave
don't.
me so much crap for that.
Yeah, I know. But as I'm like looking at what the teams have been doing, I just something I don't like the fact that they put Altuve in the outfield. I saw some highlights of how he's looking in the outfield. I don't know why they're like experimenting with their lineup. They put Altuve in the outfield during spring training. He did not look good. And if that's going to be the going position for him, I don't see why they're doing that. And if they're doing that kind of move with a player like Altuve, where it's obvious that he's not made for that kind of position, especially at his size, where he's not comfortable with that. I don't know. The more I think about it, the Astros, they seem like they're kind of lingering about to start blowing it up and rebuilding. So I know I gave you crap about it, but the more I look at where these teams are, the moves they're making and how they're running their rosters, the Astros just don't do it for me. I'm gonna put them at 3, and then I'm gonna put the Rangers at 2 and the Mariners at 1. I guess the more I heard you talk, maybe subconsciously you persuaded me to kind of lean that direction. I have to agree with you on the Mariners. I think they're not gonna have as big of a collapse as they did last year. I know the Astros won the division last year, and then the only because the Mariners somehow managed to completely fall apart in the fashion only a Cowboys fan knows what the fall apart looks like. They pulled the Mariners pulled the Cowboys when it came to giving up a solid position. I don't think they'll do that this year. I don't think the competition is necessarily there. The Rangers are there. They have a World Series from whatever that the lightning in the bottle kind of situation they have. So I'm gonna. It doesn't make me. There's no vote of confidence with what really any of these teams are doing. I don't think they're gonna be competitive in October at all. Any of them, no matter who, no matter the record by the division winner. I'm just that's gonna be my order. Just because my gut tells me that's what it's gonna be. I'm gonna put Angels, Athletics, Astros, Rangers, Mariners for the AL West.
All right, so we're the same except at the bottom. There we go.
Yes, there you
All
go.
right, let's stay in the West Coast and let's do the NL West.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off. Last place on three. One, two, three. Dodgers. So that they're just gonna completely deflate.
Major collapse, the biggest financial collapse in history of
And it's fine
anything.
because these losses are all deferred to 2063, so it's cool. They're not, they're all deferred.
It
So
doesn't cost them anything to suck this
they'll
year.
still finish your first place because they're not going to happen for another 30 years. So, no, the Rockies. The Rockies are third in this division. Um, it's sad because I grew up in the days of Vinny Castillo and Dante Bichette and Larry Walker, Mike Hampton. I grew up in Todd Helton. I grew up in the days where the Rockies teams were like, whoa, this could be a special year. But
Mm-hmm.
um, no dice
Not
this
this year. This
No
is
dice.
not the special year for them.
Yeah, I will say this though. For the rest of this segment, I'm gonna highlight one player from each team. Michael Toglia could actually be a. I was gonna go with Thairo Estrada, but he's gonna be out for probably for the first 2 months. Michael Toglia, the first baseman for the Rockies, watch out for him. I think he can actually produce at a pretty decent clip to actually kind of provide some spark for that Rockies offense.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'll keeping it short and simple. Yeah, Rockies
yeah,
fifth. There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
athletics of the Mountain West is what I'll call
Mhm.
them until they prove me otherwise.
Um, JB's number 4 team in the NL West, the Giants. I know they went out. I know they re-signed Matt Chapman last season. I know they went out and got Willie Adames. Um, Tyler Fitzgerald's moving to second base. I don't know how much of his production from last season is going to carry over. The peripherals really don't match up. They don't really click much at all. But so I'm gonna have uh, the Giants
Yep.
at number 4. I am going to um, I am going to go with Jung Hoo Lee as the player to watch. He missed most of last season due to injury. He was their quote unquote big free agent signing last offseason. But now he's there. He's going to play. He's going to be playing center field for them. I think he'll be an X factor. Just seeing what you can get from him. Heliot Ramos is almost. He's a mid 20 homers guy. Chapman's going to do. He's a high 20s, maybe 30 homer guy. You know what you're going to get from these guys, but I like to see what you get from Jung Ho Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, I'm going to go with the Padres. Um, I this lineup is still loaded. There's really no reason other than there's no reason to have them listed this low, other than the fact that you have the number 1 rated offense from last season, the Diamondbacks, and you have the Dynasty Dodgers ahead of you. So it's got less to do with how the Padres are set up and more to do with who is above you.
Yeah.
And so uh, I will say that the player to watch um, this season for San Diego has to be Xander Bogaerts. He underperformed so much last season. I mean, being able to see what he can do at Xander levels. I know he's in his 30s. I know he's older now, but you can plug him in at the DH. His back still plays. So let's just see how he produces. JB's number two is going to be Arizona. Like I mentioned
Mhm.
before, Arizona was the number one rated offense last season in all of the majors. And although
Mhm.
they lost Christian Walker, they did bring in Josh Naylor. They did get him from Cleveland. So, which is a knock against Cleveland. I don't know why you do that. So, but not only that, they went out, they got Corbin Burns. Now they have Zach Gallen also at the top of that rotation. You have Brandon Fatt. Like this is like, and then on the offensive side, you still have Cattell Marte. You still have what's his name? It's I'm spacing.
Can't help you,
Um,
JB.
Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll
Mm.
is I was going between Corbin Carroll and Jordan Lawler as the X factor. I'm going to go with Corbin Carroll just because,
Mhm.
again, just like Jung Ho Lee, who was hurt most of the last season, Corbin Carroll had a subpar a second year based off what he was in his rookie year. But
Yep.
Corbin Carroll needs to be if he can produce at the standard that we've seen him produce before, Arizona will be just fine. And of course, look out for Jordan Lawler coming in at some point this season. And of course, number one, the Dodgers. They're stacked. They're stocked. They're loaded. Lock, stock, two smoking barrels. That's what this team is. They are a force to be reckoned with. Dave Roberts has a treasure trove of players to work with. He's got so much depth. I think the Dodgers only win 100 games. That's the low point because I feel like the depth is so egregious in Chavez Ravine that Dave Roberts is not going to be forced to have to play his stars every single game or most games. And he's going
Mhm.
to be able to rest his starters. He's going to be able to rest guys like Freddie Freeman if Freddie Freeman allows it to happen. Like there's going to be opportunities for the Dodgers to rest guys and to be completely healthy. They almost lost it in that first round of the playoffs last year. So this is going to be an opportunity for them to rest up, be just full go by the time
Yep.
playoffs come.
I'll make mine quick because you kind of hit a lot of the same points that I was gonna hit on the Rockies. The Rockies are. I already said what I think about the Rockies. I'll put the Rockies 5. I'm going to put the Giants 4. I'm going to put the Padres 3. The Diamondbacks 2. You're right. I expect more out of Corbin Carroll
Carol. Hmm.
from the Diamondbacks. I do think that last year was more of an anomaly and the standard for him, and I think that he's gonna establish himself as a solid player for that roster. Uh, so I'll put the Diamondbacks as a young team that's gonna be in any like if they were in the Central or any other division, they'd be maybe a little bit more competitive. But because the Dodgers are $1 billion into their roster buying of players, that is kind of like the short stick as far as well the only other place that you're really competing for a second. So the Diamondbacks are going to be second because they have nowhere else to go. And then yeah, the Dodgers. Ugh, as I puke in my mouth a little bit, I will say that the Padres and then so Padres third, Diamondback second, Dodgers first because it makes me sick that the Dodgers are able to get away with what they've been doing with their roster moves for the last 3 years. But if there's nobody stopping them, kudos to them for continuing to spend the money in the way that they can afford to spend the money. And there's no reason why the Dodgers should have a collapse of any type, shape, or form. They'll lock up. I think they'll lock up the division quite early in the season comparatively speaking, and they'll just be coasting to the playoffs. So that's my NL West. It's not honestly because of the standings of the NL West and the roster moves and the budgets or whatever you want to call it of those teams in the NL West. It's one of the least exciting divisions for me. Even comparing it to the AL Central where all the teams are mediocre, at least there'll be uh some parity in some of these other mediocre divisions. There's no parity expected out of the NL West because the Dodgers they're just doing what the Dodgers are going to do. So I'm not necessarily I'm not too excited about what the NL West is going to produce only because the expectation is that the Dodgers are going to run away with that division, and that's how I'll leave that as far as our division ranking for that NL
Okay.
West.
All right. NL Central, I'm going to start at the bottom with a huge smile on my face. St. Louis Cardinals. I um I think this is
This
the
is your.
year of
I'll give you the platform now because this is your division, JB.
well, so this is a year of reckoning for John Mosliak and company because I feel they've kicked the can down the road too far. So they lost Paul. They should have traded Paul Goldschmidt last offseason. They did not, thinking that they can make a run. They banked on Paul Goldschmidt's 2023 season and Nolan Arenado's 2023 season to be able to come back on 24, and it fell flat on their face in both parts, especially Nolan Arenado. He was subpar at third base. His numbers offensively have declined the last 3 seasons, and I don't think this is going to be anything where a 34, 35-year-old is going to be like, oh, hey, guess what? I'm better at hitting now. Like, it's there's no knuckleball version of hitting a fastball, okay? You can't just be R.A. Dickey out there on with a bat just crushing baseballs because you found a new way to hold the neck, okay? That's not how this works. But the thing for me is that there are too many question marks. There are too many question marks on this. They have Jordan Walker, they have Lars Nootbaar, they have Mason Wynn. What is going to happen with those three? Are they actually going to produce at the levels that we think they can? Now, the Cardinals made a actual smart decision. Steven Matz, their starting pitcher last season, made the rotation, but as a reliever in favor of Andres Palenta. Andres Palenta is going to be a very solid starter for St. Louis in the years to come. So thank goodness for the Cardinals that they actually made a decision there. But with only Sonny Gray leading that, you still have Miles Michaelis starting rotation. I don't know what's actually going to happen. The key for St. Louis is Jordan Walker going to live up to the prospect hype that we all saw and heard and see from him before last season. He was basically ineffective, got demoted, and so he's getting another shot here. Is he, along with Mason Wynn, Lars Nootbaar, is he going to be the player that we have seen him be? Just especially in the minors. Alec Burleson obviously is going to lead the charge on the offensive side of the ball. Big burly guys going to mash at least 30 jacks. Number 4 for JB's NL Central is Pittsburgh. So, and the only reason I say this, I love the rotation. Okay? I love Paul Skeens. I love Jared Jones. I love Mitch Keller to be 1, 2, 3. It might be one of the most lethal, especially if Mitch Keller can just be consistent. They could be one of the most lethal 1, 2, 3 punches in the starting rotation. My thing is that there are still too many question marks on the offensive end of the ball. Now we know what they have in O'Neal Cruz. Brian Reynolds is a stalemate. Is a staple in the outfield. Andrew McCutcheon is still a great player even at this age. But what are we going to see from Cabrian Hayes? Is Cabrian Hayes going to be the guy, just like Jordan Walker, is he going to be the guy who can produce consistently now that he's healthy? And then also, are the improvements that Joey Bart showed behind the plate, are those real? We heard all about it when he was in San Francisco. Now he's in Pittsburgh. They did a great job of taking a flyer on Joey Bart. And I think and it was a good move on their part because it cost them almost nothing to do it. And he showed improvement into the last season. Did those improvements stick? But I think it's going to come down to Brian Hayes as the X factor for this team, what he can do when he's healthy. JB's number 3, the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds have arguably the greatest collection of 9 infielders that you will ever see ever on a roster. They're all dispersed out everywhere. They're like the Miami Marlins. They have 9 second basemen. They have 8 second basemen. They're all playing different positions. So what I'd like to see from Cincinnati, and look, they went out and they got Brady Singer for Jonathan India, and that was a good move for Cincinnati because they were able to do it because Matt McClain is bad. Matt McClain, their second base 23, missed the entire season last season, and now he's back. In 89 games, this dude was nearly a 20-20 guy. He's got the potential to be a 25-25 guy. And so now, yeah, he's at the keystone position. That rotation got stronger with Brady Singer now. They have Nick Lodolo still. Like this is a team that has shown a lot of promise. Ellie De La Cruz is still going to flash. Spencer Steer's still there. Christian Strand, Christian Strand is still there. Heimer Candelario, he's still there. They have the pieces on offense, but are they going to click? Are they going to stay healthy? Is it going to produce fruit? If it does, they could end up being the number 2 team in NL Central. But for right now, I have the Milwaukee Brewers as number 2. This team is still, for as much as I hate to say it, as much joy as it brought me to bring in the NL Central, the Cardinals number 5, it brings me just as much pain to have the Brewers number 2. Okay? Wrigley Field North continues to produce so many players. And you wonder how it all comes together and they win so many games each season when you look at the roster from top down and they're all 250, 260 hitters. It's because they know how to play situational baseball. Yes, the Cubs were able to poach Craig Counsell, but they also kept Craig Counsell's former college coach, his bench coach, and now he had been promoted. This is his second season at the helm, Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy is a genius when it comes to baseball. He knows baseball. And while we have all of these parts, you have Sal Frelick, you have Garrett Mitchell, you have Jackson Chario, you have Joey Ortiz, you have Bryce Terang. I think the key to this season is going to be Christian Yelich. Is he going to stay healthy? He had a tremendous spring. He had a really heartbreaking 24 with the injuries. A tremendous spring. Is Christian Yelich back? And JB's number 1 seed in the NL Central, not a homer pick at all, the Chicago Cubs. And I say this because as much as
no biases. Let me disclaimer: there is no biases in our podcast. JB thinks with the straight head when it comes to his rankings and his standings.
Look, last season I didn't pick the Cubs to win the division last season.
I know.
So, but this offseason they paid a hefty price to go get Kyle Tucker, to get 1 year of Kyle Tucker, 1 year, and God help me, please. I hope they re-sign him, but they probably won't unless he underperforms. And if he underperforms, that means the Cubs did not make the playoffs. So please, my God, if he overperforms and the Cubs don't re-sign him, please let it be because we got a ring as well. Awesome, whatever. But my reason why I picked the Cubs to be able to win this division is not really because of what the Cubs did, but because of what the rest of the teams did not do. I feel like the Cubs did just enough on paper to be able to be a team that can win this division by 4 games. By 4 games. That's not a lot of room for error. It's not. And my key player for this team, no, is not going to be Matt Shaw. It's not going to be Dansby Swanson. It's going to be PCA. Did what Pete Crow Armstrong do at the end of last season when he was completely in fuego? Did what he did, is that going to transfer to this next season? My guess is yes. And I hope I'm true, and I hope it's right, and I hope and pray that, and I don't hope and pray because I know it's not going to happen, but what I hope Craig Counsell does is he keeps PCA at the bottom of the lineup. Do not put too much pressure on this kid. Let Ian Happ play 1, or in the 1 hole. Put Seiya 2. Put Kyle 3. Put not Kyle. Put Kyle 3. Put Bush 4. Put Shaw 5. Put Horner 6. Put Swansby 7. Amaya 8. And
Mhm.
PCA 9. Let that be the lineup. Let PCA continue to grow into this. Let him produce from the bottom of the lineup because you need to produce from 1 to 9. Not every night is your 1 to 4 going to hit the jackpot. That's JB's NL Central.
Again, no biases whatsoever with JB's optimism, where at the end of the October season, we'll be talking about the Cubs possibly having a ring. But that's neither here nor there. When it comes to Manny's rankings, on number 5, I have to put the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I mean, if there was in that division, if there was a glimmer of light within every team for the potential for the future, the Cardinals don't have that. They don't have an Ellie De La Cruz. They don't have a Paul Skeens. They don't have any type of player that you could even sell the fan base on. Like, well, hey, we might not be the best, but we have some potential with our players. So the Cardinals, they're just there. I'm gonna put them at 5. Here is where I'm going to maybe break JB's heart. I'm gonna put the Cubs at 4. Cubs at 4. I don't I don't trust the Cubs necessarily. I know JB just explained the roster to you all and kind of gave you a breakdown of where he sees potential. I don't see it. I know I'm not too sold on what the Cubs are building necessarily, but then again, when it comes to a division like the NL Central, you can easily become the number one team by being just above mediocre or just above par. Like, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they finished higher, but I'm gonna put the Cubs at 4, and then at number 3, I'm going to put the Brewers. The Brewers won the division last year, but it feels like every year the Brewers kind of, I don't know what the word is, they kind of like limp into winning the division because no other team is trying by the time August comes around. I'm not too convinced that that's going to be the case this year anymore. I'm tired of seeing that the Brewers kind of coast to a division win, and it's just, I feel like the other two teams that are left, the Reds and the Pirates, kind of have a little bit of something going on, and it's time for the Brewers to kind of fall down a notch. It's not a big notch for the Brewers to fall, considering what division they're in, but at the end of the day, the Brewers have, in my opinion, have caught in some lucky breaks because of the division that they're in. So Brewers 3, and then I am going to put the Reds at 2 and the Pirates at 1.
Wow.
Yes, I am going to say
It's a bold move,
that.
Cotton.
Yes, I know, and maybe this is the wildest division that I make a breakdown on. Ellie De La Cruz has been I'm pretty sure I picked the Reds to win the division last year because Ali De La Cruz. And maybe you can call me delusional or hopelessly optimistic that somehow the Reds will figure out how to build a team around such a spectacular player that they have in Ellie De La Cruz. Not this year. I'm not picking them to win the division, but I am picking them to finish second. And then the Pirates with Paul Skeens as the number one pitcher will win that division because he will be that dominant of a pitcher that he will carry that team into a division win. So Paul Skeens, the Pittsburgh Paul Skeens at this point, because what else do they have really going for them, will be the division winners, and then the Cincinnati Reds will finish second. And again, I'm basing this off of two players for each team. Well, one player for each team, two players total, that I'm expecting them to be able to carry their teams. Elliot De La Cruz with the Reds and Paul Skeens with the Pirates. So that is my rankings for the NL Central. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's 100% or 180 flipped and the Pirates finish last place in that division. But nothing would surprise me with this Central divisions of either league. Let's be honest.
JB's AL East, number 5, get it over with. The Miami Marlins. This is the worst offense in the National League by far. The only reason
Yep.
they're not worst offense in the majors is because a team in the south side of Chicago exists. Now, they have Xavier Edwards that left side of the infield, Xavier Edwards at short, Connor Norby at third, not a bad combo, except Connor Norby's hurt now and won't start. He'll start the season on the IL. But Xavier Edwards can, if he can show that he can hit in the low 300s, have that 30 homer pop, which I don't doubt that he can. That dude is a stud. The Marlins are athletic. They have power, but they don't have the consistency to be able to produce an offense that'll carry you. The X factor for them, I think, in my eyes, is Sandy Alcantara. He's been their star pitcher for a couple years before he went down in the late 23 with Tommy John. He was out all last season. He is back now. Let's see what he can produce for Miami. If anything, maybe he could produce a nice prospect return in order for Miami to flip those prospects in 3 years. JB's number 4 in the NL East, the Washington Nationals. Nothing against what the Nationals have done. Nothing against this rotation. I think Mackenzie Gore is going to take a step further. I think Josiah Gray is going to take a step further. With this offense, especially, it's young, it's ready to go, it's raring to go. James Woods looks like the real deal. Let's see if that loud bat can carry them throughout this next season. CJ Abrams only got stronger. He's going to produce a double-double homer steal season. My X factor is going to be Dylan Cruz. If the Cruz missile can come up and deliver like we all saw him deliver at LSU, then fantastic. And then that'll at least produce some hype into next season. And also Kyber Ruiz behind the plate. He did not produce well last season. He opened the season with the flu. He lost like 20 pounds. When you're a catcher, fat is key, and he lost it all. And you lose your stamina. You lose most of what gives you the strength to carry on when you start the season losing 20 pounds. But my pick for X Factor for the Nationals is Dylan Cruz. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Mets. I'm going to pick the Mets to finish third. And here's why. It's nothing to do with the fact that they brought in Juan Soto. I think Juan Soto is a great 2-dimensional guy. 3-dimensional. He can hit for average, hit for power.
And he plays good defense.
Well, wait, that's it. He's 2-dimensional because he can't
Whoa!
play defense. So we will do this. But the reason why I picked the Mets to finish third is because that starting rotation is decimated. I don't know how this team is going to carry on through this season without a starting pitching staff that's going to be able to carry them for the first 2 months. Now, I know what you're saying. JB, baseball is 6 months long. I get it. But what you do in the first 2 months absolutely carries on. Not every team is the 2019 Nationals, okay? That was the exception to the rule. The rule is you have to produce the first 2 months in order for you to look like you have a shot toward the end of the season. Because guess what happens before that? That's right, the trade deadline. If you do not look competitive, and if you don't have an ownership team and a front office that's willing to risk what they see on the field in order to pour into you, not every front office has an Alex Anthopoulos. So if you can't produce within the first 2 months, then it's going to be really hard for you to show. But I like this offense. I like what they have with Francisco Alvarez. He's going to be a star catcher. I love that they brought back Pete Alonso to be able to protect Juan Soto. Jeff McNeil is still a thing until Luis Acuna until Luis Acuna comes up and supplants Jeff McNeil at second base. You still have that outfield with Starling Marte. This is not a lineup. This lineup is loaded. It's the pitching that causes me concern. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Phillies. I'm going to pick the Phillies because, again, not because of because of anything with them, but more so because I believe at the end of the day, Atlanta's still going to have what it takes to rise to the top. Philly has Zach Wheeler. They have Christopher Sanchez. They have Aaron Nola. They have the pitching. They absolutely have the pitching. They have the bullpen. We've all seen it. And they have the offense. My thing that I think is what is going to cause them to come down is going to be the continued decline of both JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos can continue to hit homers in the most opportune times to be as meme worthy as possible, but that can only happen so much. But with Trey Turner, with Bryson Stott, with Brandon Marsh, both being double guys in homers and steals, and of course you got Bryce and you have Shorbs just hitting absolute bombs. This is still a team to reckon with. I'm not picking the Phillies to finish second by a lot, but I had them finishing behind Atlanta because Atlanta always seems to get it done. Atlanta always seems to be able to figure it out, and the X factor for Atlanta Braves is going to be Ronald Acuna Jr. Is he going to come back healthy? Is he going to come back to be the guy that we have all seen him be on separate occasions after he's come back from a devastating injury? Is he going to be the guy? The rotation should hold strong with Chris Sale, Strider, Schwellenbach. I'm not concerned with the Braves rotation at all. I'm not even concerned with the Braves roster because, like I said, Alex Anthopoulos is going to go out. He's going to reinforce. He does it every single year. The Braves are continue to be a force because they are a brilliantly run organization, both in the clubhouse and in the front office. That is JB's NL East.
Yes, I'm gonna keep my NL East segment a little short because I kind of agree with a lot of the things you just said. Marlins, joke of a franchise. Let's be honest. I'm not. There's nothing there to really get excited about. Nationals, they're not the Nationals of old. They're not the Nationals of the World Series that they won. I don't even know how long it's been since they won that. So I'm gonna put Marlins 5, Nationals 4. I'm gonna put Mets 3 because simply because I think they will do enough to stay at 3. I'm almost tempted to put the Nationals above the Mets, but the Pete Alonso and Juan Soto combo will do just enough to keep them at 3. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow that combo isn't able to keep them competitive enough to stay at that 3 spot. So uh, a uh, a position ranking to watch, it would be the Nationals and the Mets for the 3-4 spot. But I'm not gonna put too much stock into what the Mets are doing until they prove me otherwise. The Mets do this every year. Every year we see the Mets make major moves. Every year we kind of sit and say, okay, well, the Mets brought in some players, they brought in some free agents, and maybe this is the year that they're going to push over there. I'm not putting too much stock into that. That combo will do just enough to put them in 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if they end up at 4. The Phillies always for some reason figure out a way to be competitive in that division. And number 1, I am excited about the Braves. Number 1, the Braves should have easily had the division last year if it wasn't because all the injuries that they had last year. There was no reason that they should. If they had the roster healthy, they would have ran away with that division. I'm gonna say that they're gonna run away with that division this year, except for the fact of injuries, because injuries always play such a major factor into anything that happens in standings in sports. But I'm going to say the Braves are going to finish 1, and they're going to win that division by a lot. They're going to lock up that division early on in baseball terms. But I don't see a reason why if they stay healthy, why the Braves have anything to be worried about with their roster. They've created a solid roster. They're not losing any players. They're not in risk of having some deficiencies in the roster besides, like I said, injuries. So the Braves are going to be number 1 by a far stretch, and then everything else will kind of they'll. I wouldn't be surprised if the next 4 kind of flip flop between 2 and 4 throughout the entire season until the end of the year, and then the Braves will just be comfortably what I'm gonna say 20 games above the second place for that division. It wouldn't have surprised me. Like I said, if it wasn't because of injuries, we would have been having a conversation about the Braves being strongly into the postseason, pushing the what now our World Series champion Dodgers in the NLCS. Like it was a very realistic possibility, and the injury factor kind of just took that away from them. I don't think that's going to be the case today. Usually, injury bugs hit a team one a year. It would suck if they hit him 2 years in a row. But that being said, I don't. I'm banking on the Braves not having a 2 year streak of injury bugs, and they'll lock up the NL East comfortably, and they'll coast into the playoffs. So those are my rankings for the NL East. I don't think there's.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not too many. I don't think there's too much argument when it comes to that division either. There's not too much competitive factor with the other four teams in that division. The Braves consistently have shown that they should be dominating that division,
Yeah.
and it's the one off that they didn't last year. So I'm comfortable with putting them at one, and then everything else will fall how it does.
Yeah. Are you ready? Do you have your picks for manager of the year, rookie of the year?
Yes, let's
Okay.
go. I'm
Let's do it.
ready. I got you.
Because we have taken so long, we will close out with this. This is what we will close out with. Um, so let's go back to the AL. Do
Yes,
you have an AL MVP?
I do have an AL MVP.
Who is it?
My AL MVP. Hang on, let me pull it up. Oh, yes, of course. How could I forget? The team and the player that I told you was the reason that you sold me on this team will be the MVP this year. Bobby Witt Jr. will be the MVP of the AL this year. He was second last year. If
Mm-hmm.
I don't- There's no reason he is a great player. He will, like I predicted, he will carry the Royals into a division win. Bobby Witt will be the AL MVP, and I don't feel too uncomfortable saying that. I
Mm-hmm.
think there will be some MVP fatigue if it's close between him and Aaron Judge at the end of the year. If Aaron Judge is having a stellar year again, he'd have to break a lot more records for him to win another MVP, considering his resume already. If it's close because of MVP fatigue, which is the unspoken reality behind voting, if it's close, it will go to Bobby Witt Jr. from the Royals. JB?
I'm gonna go with as much as I believe Gunnar Henderson is a superb ball player and
Mm-hmm.
is the second coming of Cal Ripken Jr. I'm going to go with Bobby Witt Jr. And I'm going to go with Bobby
Hey!
Witt because Bobby Witt uh, is if the Royals end up turning my AL Central predictions upside down, it will be because Bobby Witt Jr. produced a 40-40 season. Because he hit 40 homers, stole 40 bases, probably hits at least 50 doubles. Like Bobby Witt Jr. is a superstar. There is no one like him. And it is only a matter of time before Bobby Witt begins his string of MVP wins and
Mm-hmm.
trophies in the American League. Bobby Witt Jr., my pick for AL MVP.
And if JB continues to be right, he will be an MVP on a fourth placed team from his division. So, but that's neither here nor there.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I love Kansas City. I love Kansas City. Okay, but I don't want to get started on it. Bobby Wood Jr., AL MVP.
There you go. Next, NLV MVP. Who do you got?
NL MVP, Kyle Tucker.
Oh,
Kyle Tucker
whoa.
is in his walk year. Kyle Tucker produced in one half of a season last season. If he does it over the course of a whole season, watch out. Watch out. And I think he narrowly beats out Shohei. Narrowly.
Okay.
Only because Shohei now is able to be on the mound. And he's gonna be that dual threat that he was with the Angels. And so, but I honestly Kyle Tucker, I believe is just going to go off. He's going to
Okay.
go off, and he is going to win NL MVP based solely on the fact that uh, Mainly because too he is he is an incredible outfielder. This dude can play defense. So like he is a great right fielder. This I mean he is Gold Glove caliber. So this is not as if it's just one way like Shohei, but like it is going to be it's going to be a race between Kyle Tucker and Shohei. Then Kyle Tucker narrowly beats out Shohei Otani.
Okay. So with my NL MVP choice, JB, you gave me a hot take. You gave me the homework of hot takes this year, or for this episode. And I want to jump the gun and give you my hot take in conjunction with my NL MVP.
Paul Skeens.
And that is because I am going to take Shohei to be the NL MVP. Why? Because he's already a dominant batter, and because I'm going to say, as of right now, Shohei is not predicted to start pitching necessarily early on in the season. I'm going to say my hot take is that Shohei is going to be competing for the Cy Young in the NL as a
Wow.
pitcher by August. By August, he will be pitching at a stellar form and still batting in the dominant way that he did last year. So he's going to be the MVP and a Cy Young candidate for the 2025 season. So that's my 2 for 1.
Okay. My NL Cy Young is not a hot take. It's Paul Skeens. So Paul
You
Skeens
stole
will
mine.
Paul Skeens will win the NL Cy Young. That's it. The end.
That was my that was I said Shohei was gonna be the the pushing to be the Cy winner, but that's because Paul Skeens, as dominant as he was last year, and now he's added two pitches to his resume. I was gonna go with Paul Skeens as my Cy Young winner as well. So you stole mine a little bit, but it's okay. We're on the same page.
Yes, we are.
JB, do you have a manager of the year?
My manager for what AL or NL? Oh,
Whichever one you want
we
to
have to
start
do
with.
AL Cy Young now.
Oh
So
yeah.
my AL Cy Young, as much as I talked up Tariq Skubal and I love Tariq Skubal, it's going to be Logan Gilbert. Logan Gilbert is long due a Cy Young. He is going to be the Cy Young Award winner for the Seattle Mariners. I believe I still think he's underrated. Partly because mainly he's a Seattle Mariner. And no one stays up past, 9 p.m. Mountain to watch a Mariner game. So I think Logan Gilbert wins the AL Cy Young.
Yeah, the one that you were it was supposed to be is mine, which is Scooble from the Detroit Tigers. Like I don't there's not much to say about him. He was dominant last year. I don't there's not a reason to think that he's not going to be dominant this year. He was one of the main reasons that the Detroit Tigers had the run that they did last year. It's not going to change. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be so the Scooble pitching circus, whatever you want to call it, but he was so good last year. He was so good. It was impressive if you were watching the postseason to watch him pitch because it was so hard to predict his pitches and even harder to even if you knew the pitch that was coming, it was hard to just read the way that the pitch was going to be coming. So Scooble didn't lose a step. I'm gonna go with Scooble. See what Cy Young uh, for the 2025 season. It's not really too complicated for me. There's just nothing to convince me that there's somebody else that's going to be competing for that one.
Okay. All right. All right. So my rookie of the year for the AL is it's going to be really close because it's going to come down to two guys. Uh, but the reason I'm picking this player over the other one is because I believe that the reigning Cy Young winner, AL Cy Young winner, is going to be such a boost to Jackson Jobe that he is going to narrowly beat out the Martian, Yasan Dominguez. I think Jackson Jobe narrowly beats out Yasan Dominguez for AL Rookie of the Year, and it's going to be really close. But I'm putting my money on the fact that we have a reigning AL Cy Young and a reigning AL MVP. both teamed up with my 2-1-2 punch for AL Rookie of the Year, and I believe it's going to be Jackson Jobe because Jackson Jobe is what's going to help propel Detroit to win the AL Central.
For my AL Rookie of the Year, you mentioned Jason Dominguez, which is in the running. I want to pick him, but because I chose the Boston Red Sox to win the division, I am going to go with Christian Campbell as the Rookie of the Year. He's going to be doing a combo of the second base and outfielder, and he seems just to be explosive when it comes to his on base playing offensively. I just the Red Sox, like I said when we were talking about divisions, the Red Sox just seem to have something going this year. Between Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony from both of them from the Red Sox, that would be my two picks for the finishing 1-2. But I'm gonna go with Christian Campbell as the winner for Rookie of the Year because it makes me sick to my stomach to say this, but I'm sold on what the Red Sox are building with their young roster and with the pieces they're bringing in. So there you go, my
Okay.
AL Rookie of the Year.
Okay. Um, NL Rookie of the Year. Who you got?
it's not a it's not a flashy pick, but it's the pick that makes the most sense to me. From the Dodgers, the right-handed pitcher Roki Sasaki. It's I know it's not like I said, it's not a flashy pick, but the Dodgers he would have won no matter what team got him this year. It just happens that the almighty full $2 billion franchise of the Dodgers got him. I think he's gonna be pretty dang good as a rookie for pitching, even though the rotation for pitching is so strong. Maybe he. The only reason I could see him not necessarily being as dominant of a rookie is because he's not gonna have as many chances to show it off. But he looks good. He looks like he's gonna be a really good pitcher. I don't know. It makes too much sense to pick him. So I'm gonna pick the rational choice for NL Rookie of the Year.
Okay. For NL Rookie of the Year, I am going to pick Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw is the third baseman for the Chicago Cubs. And as much as I talked up Dylan Cruz, and I believe Cruz Missile is going to do phenomenal things in that Washington lineup, I love saying Cruz Missile because it flows so well. Matt Shaw is going to be the one that I think is going to help propel the Cubs to the next level. They went out and got Kyle Tucker. You have a full, healthy season of Dansby Swanson, who played hurt most of last season. Nico Horner is going to come back strong. Michael Busch is going to be a gold glove first baseman for the Cubs. Seiya at DH, PCA at center, who's my X Factor, and Ian Happ, who is Mr. Steady. Matt Shaw is going to be the one that is going to be NL Rookie of the Year because he is going to help propel this Cubs team to another championship.
Not in my books, JB. Let me tell you, not in my
That's fine.
books.
You don't have to have books. I burned them all.
Your burn book is flaming right now. Let me jump into my. Let's start with my AL Manager of the Year.
Okay.
Keep it short and simple. I keep hyping up the Red Sox.
Alex
I'm gonna
Cora.
go with Alex Cora as the Manager of the Year again because it seems like whatever the heck the Red Sox are building, they seem to be building it very well, winning the division, overtaking the AL winners in the Yankees in the division. What I would consider a very out of all the AL divisions, the strongest division. How they're gonna look, I think is gonna be very dominant. So I'm gonna go with Alex Cora as the Manager of the Year.
AL Manager of the Year, I'm going to keep it real short and sweet. AJ Hinch. AJ Hinch is going to be the reason why the Tigers continue and they have a back to back playoff season. He is the one guy that I believe is equipped to take a Detroit Tigers team who only improved by getting Gleyber Torres as an offensive signing, but in essence was able to move Torkelson off of first base, Colt Keith to first base. This is a team, like I said, is not to be just undermined. It's not. And AJ Hinch is the reason for that. AJ Hinch is going to be the guy who is going to lead this team to a consecutive playoff season for the first time in a decade.
Okay. I beg to differ. But moving on to the NL side, I'm going to keep riding the bringing your team up into the division win, and I'm going to ride the Pittsburgh Pirates winning their division, and I'm going to go with Derek Shelton as the manager of the league of the year for
Okay.
the NL.
Good pick. Yeah, I'm going to stay in the NL Central. And no, I'm not picking Craig Counsell. No, I'm not. I'm picking Terry Francona. I think if the Reds end up winning this division or at least making the playoffs, it's because of Terry Francona. We all know what Terry is capable of doing. We've all seen it when he was the manager for several decades in the AL. We've all seen it. Terry Francona is going to do the same thing in Cincinnati. And he is going to be the one who is going to help bring the Reds back to a place of respectability. JB's comeback player of the year
Whoa.
in the NL. Are you ready for this?
Let me hear it.
Sandy Alcantara. Sandy Alcantara, just like I said, is the X factor for Miami Marlins. Is going to win the comeback player of the year, and he's going to do it in a lights out fashion. He is going to pitch 180 innings. He is going to strike out at least 200 guys. This guy is the real deal when he is healthy, when he's on the mound. He is dominant, and he's going to show that dominance this year by taking home NL Comeback Player of the Year award.
For comeback player of the year, even though I chose them to be fighting to be the worst team in their division, I'll go with Mike Trout because whenever he is
We're in
healthy.
the AL.
Oh,
Go
I'm
to the
sorry.
NL. Go to the NL.
Well, I'm jumping ahead to the NL. I'm gonna go with Mike Trout for the NL, and then I'll
No, Mike
give
Trout's
you.
in the AL.
What did you just say?
NL. National League.
Oh, hang on. Let me look up my. Let me look up my NL. Hang on. Let me find it. Let me find my NL. Where is he? Okay. Christian Yelich.
Okay. All right.
Injuries. I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion that a player that gets hurt, if they're dominant and they come back and continue to dominate, they will win a comeback player of the year. It's not even an MLB strict thing to happen. It happens in the NFL. It happens everywhere. Yelich got hurt. He's usually pretty dominant for the Brewers, so I'm gonna go with him as the comeback player of the year for them.
Okay. All right. Who is your? Oh, now you said your AL.
Yeah,
You said Mike
Mike
Trout for
Trout.
the AL.
Yeah, for the same reason. When he's healthy, he's dominant. He makes the Angels relevant.
My AL comeback player of the year is tied to my MLB hot take for the year
Ooh,
2025.
I'm ready for it. I've been waiting.
My AL comeback player of the year is also Mike Trout. And my hot take is that by mid-season, the Angels will still be floundering in the cellar, and Mike Trout will be traded to the Philadelphia Phillies to play
No.
alongside bestie Bryce Harper.
No.
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
That is quite the hot take. That is quite the hot take. There's I would be shook if he gets traded. There's in my heart, in my mind,
there are no boundaries that Dave Dombrowski is saying I'm not willing to cross that. He will trade and he will take on. He will take on most of Mike Trout's contract to be able to bring in a quality prospect, which I don't know who that is in the Angel system, but he is willing to do that. Hell, he's willing to. Here, I'm gonna go even further. My hot take is Mike Trout will get traded to the Phillies. Dave Dombrowski will take on every single penny in order to also acquire Logan O'Hoppe to be the starting catcher for the Philadelphia Phillies.
My question to this is: does Mike Trout not, in his loyalty to the Angels, have a no trade clause in his
He
contract?
does, but he's also from New Jersey.
Okay, I don't know.
So playing
He could have
for
left.
he grew up a Philly fan. So
I know.
going to your childhood team, absolutely.
He could have left a long time ago if he was gonna make an exception to his no trade clause to leave the Angels. He would have done that a long time ago, or he wouldn't have re-signed with the Angels a long time ago. I don't think he's doing that. But I like your hot take. That is quite quite the take.
Well, folks, that does it for the MLB predictions episode. Tell us what you think on the video pods, either on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Box Scores and Bourbon, and also on the additional contents at BSB Sports 24 on TikTok, X, and Instagram. And until next time, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone. Stay thirsty, as JB likes to say.
All right.
We'd even introduce